they're not evil for sure. So I don't want to make you look evil, but you're still a skull. You still have to look somewhat scary or be able to look scary, because I'm assuming that's how the Moko Jumbies
You
would
have
have.
the wrong person.
Hi.
Hello.
Here we are. We're doing this on Connor's face. This is.
It's been done.
It's been done. We're going to show you how we did it and wax philosophical about things. This is my first actual YouTube video in a while, and it's for Halloween. Hooray! As always, as you do. The first of the series is the Moko Jumbie, and then the next ones coming up, you will see they're going to be interesting. So this is a train wreck of an intro, but that's fine. Bye. Stick around if you want to see how we did it, and also to see some really cool photos at the end. This is Connor, by the way.
Hello.
Here we are again. Hi.
Hello.
Fun. We're doing this again. Huzzah. I'm confusing Connor again. You don't have fun colored hair this time.
No,
Your hair is boring colored this time.
That's the color.
That's me well. I don't think people ever saw your view.
Day.
That's a view. It is a really nice day. It's really nice and clear. It's also really hot. We're filming on my iPhone because we are high tech. I hope I can be seen. Talk while we're doing this. That's the whole point. So I'm gonna start by.
Talking, or
I'm gonna start talking. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So did you know anything about Moko Jumbies when I messaged you and told you about this? Did you go and look anything up?
Nope. I know what a Jumbie is because I live in this region, but the Moko, I have no idea what that was.
Yeah.
And I figured it was something dead because Jumbie.
Yeah.
But that's not it.
I see.
Yeah.
So I first heard the term Moko Jumbie
Last week.
No, because my uncle used to run the Plantation Theater, and in one of the floor shows dances they featured Moko Jumbies. So the use of stilt men in Caribbean culture is actually closely linked to the folklore surrounding the Moko Jumbies. So I do not want to spray it in your eye.
No,
In your ear, sorry.
I'd appreciate both of those things.
It's actually gone to a very kind of fun gray color.
So it's aging me then.
Huh?
It's aging me then.
It's aging you. No, it's actually like it's kind of like a hip gray color.
Oh, okay.
Moko Jumbie is a healer type spirit. That's what the word Moko means, healer. Could possibly be named after the Congo, the god from the Congo called Moko. We know that it comes from like West Africa-ish. So, but it's been taken over by Western culture. And it's kind of like a benevolent healer type god. So they're super tall, and they stand up and they can watch over your entire village. And this is why we map, so we can see the sun. Yeah. And and they also play with the kids. They like to snatch things away from the kids. I've seen several different stories where they play with the kids and snatch their toys and roll their balls farther and that sort of thing. So
That's mean.
it's mean, but they love a revelry. They love to take part in the debauchery. Is that your phone?
That's mine.
Let's check. It's another skull, Connor.
Yeah. So I was told.
So you were told. You have no idea what's happening to you.
Nope. You said about colors and shapes.
Yeah,
and
colors and shapes.
That can mean
And teeth.
many things.
It can. So I always like to do a skull. I always like to do a skull at Halloween. I have to do a couple skulls.
The only thing that I know you're going to do is you're going to paint my cupid's bow.
Yes.
Every time.
Always.
Every time.
But I have to paint on teeth, so I'm allowed to paint your cupid's bow this time. Maybe they come, because if it's from the god Moko, he protected humans.
But that's a big if.
Huh?
It's a big if, though.
It's a big if. It is a big if. Well, it's all a big if.
Well, yeah.
I mean, Moko Jumbies are supposed to have walked across the Atlantic on their very long legs and landed in Trinidad. So if we're talking about ifs,
They're invasive species, you know.
they're an invasive species. It's true. At least they don't. I don't know. They don't eat local wildlife.
It's a nice thought.
So to start building this skull, we are going to go for the darkest parts first and build up to the lightest. So I'm going in with these two colors from the Magic Palette by Juvia's Place. They are Yehide and Ife, and I'm just going to start building up contrast by deepening up the recesses first, which is the eye sockets and the cheeks, and then of course around the perimeter. After we've gone in rough, we're going to go back in with a more precise brush and the darker of the two colors, which is Ife, and I'm just going to start to crisp up the lines and give myself some more structure.
There's something inherently evil about sharp edges. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I know.
So like, if that's why we like our villains, we always make
Are
really sharp angled
edgy.
eyebrows. Ha ha.
Edgy?
Edgy.
Oh, yes.
And
Very
they're you know, corners and sharp edges, and villains always have slanted eyeballs, and they're also darker skinned, but that's a whole nother problem topic.
What's the slanted eyeballs about?
Well, you know, the Asian peoples that
Well,
they don't know anything about.
Right, because that reminds me of Orientalism, which is just racism, really and truly.
It is racism.
But
It's colorism, classism, all that. But yeah, the idea that sharp lines, harsh lines, things that are sharp are not to be trusted. They're dangerous.
untrustworthy.
How interesting. The psychology of villaindom
And inherent racism.
and inherent racism. Because of course, it's the topic we could go on about all day. Very
Since
easily.
most of these artists are most likely white.
That's true.
Once we've got all the dark spaces worked out, we're going to start going in with some color. Now, Moko Jumbies, of course, like we said, like to take part in revelry, and so I've always thought of swirling groups of colors as being, I don't know, indicative of revelry. So I'm using my wolf paints, and I'm really just having fun. Going to step back every once in a while and make sure that it looks balanced, and also take it up into his hair just to have a little bit of a smoother line. Once I've got my brighter colors looking the way I kind of want them to look, I'm going to go in with some lighter colors. Now this is a metallic color from the Wolf Metallic palette, and I'm going to go around just the edges to make the contrast a little more stark between where the skull is and where the recesses are, and this just gives us a little bit more of a three-dimensional feeling. I'm using a really small art brush to do this, and I'm also going in with it kind of sheer and mixing it into the colors underneath. This kind of creates a lot of depth. You can go back over it again, and you'll see me doing that especially with the teeth. After I've got my colors looking the way that I want them, I'm going to go back in one more time and deepen up all of the recesses even more. So I'm using a black gel eyeliner, and I know that it looks like I'm assaulting Connor's eyes, but I promise I was being very gentle. It's just the sped up video. So I'm going to darken up his eyeline, also the lines around the sockets, the nose and the cheeks. And this is just going to create even more depth and give us a little bit more of a 3D type of look. So just before I get to the teeth, I'm going to use my Zulu palette from Juvia's Place and just add a little bit of, you know, powder colors on top of where I've got my colors. This sort of just helps give a nice swirly, blended, highlighted kind of effect. And I'm going to go in with the teeth, and I left a lot of this process in, even though it's sped up, just so you could see how I do it. I've struggled a lot with teeth. They're the most challenging part of a skull for me. So first I go in with a fine brush and the same wolf white paint again, put on a sheer layer, and I'm going to put on the shape of the tooth as well as the root of the tooth, but I'm putting it on, like I said, really sheer. And then I'm going to go back on over them again with a little bit more color and build up the opacity that way, and that way it doesn't look like we've got teeth just sitting on top of lips that don't blend into the skull. The last thing to do is to just use either a shadow or paint and darken up the spaces between the roots of the teeth, especially because that creates even more of a three-dimensional effect. And that's it.